Hey, what's up, jammers and chefs? Welcome to the sixth jam of the Culture Bytes Game Jam series. If you're here, you've already probably been to the official jam page, but let me tell you what Culture Bytes is about. Culture Bytes is an ongoing series of jams organized by us at the Melanated Game Kitchen. Each jam of the series is aimed at creating unique interactive experiences under the context of culture over a 2-week period. Currently, we're focusing on the African diaspora as our cultural standpoint. The focus of this jam series has been to create these experiences with which interesting themes, but also to give us more time as creators to make something interesting without being stressed or as pressed for time. And a lot of us are oftentimes working actual job in the daytime, and so we want to give people enough space. We got a lot of AAA devs in here too, so here we are.
Low pressure, very low pressure.
Yeah, low pressure. As many of you know, the name of this jam is the Ground Pound Cake Jam. So let's talk a bit about that. The main thing is we're making mini games this time, and the goal is to create a mini game that would exist as part of a larger game. This could be a existing IP or a fictional IP. And it could be as simple as a WarioWare level, a workout mini game like in Work No More Heroes, the pull-up challenge in Final Fantasy VII, Yakuza's plenty of mini games, and tons of others that we've seen over the years. And we've been talking about those types of things in the Discord as well, sharing a lot of references and things like that. So we're doing mini games, and the main dish of the jam is pound cake. So let me give a quick history on pound cake before we and why maybe it was chosen before we get into the actual theme as well. So pound cake, aka bunt cake, is also is called, is the diverse cake found in many parts of African American families in particular, but also in other parts of the diaspora. It has a thickness and ease to eat with or without a fork that makes pound cake a perfect cake for snacking or taking on the go. And that's part of what we were thinking in the springtime, summer, food on the go type of dishes. Folks have all kinds of variations of this cake: lemon, hibiscus, cinnamon, Jamaican rum cake, etc. And my grandma even had her own version of the lemon pound cake that's been passed down in our family. Coming from South Carolina, personally, I've been eating pound cake for as long as I can remember. And like a lot of dishes, it has connections elsewhere too. I've read that pound cake originated in Northern Europe in the early 1700s. And the name has come from the fact that the cake has consisted of a pound of butter, sugar, flour, and eggs. And that's the name. There was no leavening, no leavening, no liquid or extract in the original pound cake recipe. And so as you all can imagine, and as I would guess, once it hit the South, the cake began to evolve as we added other ingredients like the butters and other dense additions to it to give it a much more thick, flavorful texture than it had before. And I like to think that it was elevated from African Americans and other folks in the South. So here we have pound cake, and this jam is dedicated to that. So along with our food, we always have a theme that we want to focus on. And so with the mini games, our creative theme is future economics. Now this is a really interesting one and also a challenging one because economics and mini games, right? Many people have been looking forward to how to do things differently in the world now, in the present time, how we can build things as a collective to a more sustainable future. And with all the wild situations that we've been experiencing economically across the US, especially, but also the world economics, it felt like a good moment for us to take a chance to imagine ideas of what a more sustainable and ethical economic structures would look like going forward. So for this theme, we've also come up with a few extra ingredients, as we call them, to help jammers to brainstorm. So the first one is home spice. Imagine a future economy for a specific country or city, maybe your home country or your hometown. The second, salt and pepper. Imagine a general future economy that can be used in many different places, maybe not specific to the US, or maybe not specific to the actual like world itself, or it could even be fictional, right? And then virtual spice, future economics for video games. So thinking about the video game industry, thinking about economies inside games themselves, right? What is the next thing for the industry that could give better results for players and studios alike in terms of their economies that we can put in games? We've always seen a lot of, kind of sketchy stuff, especially in mobile games. So it's an interesting thing to think about. But those are a few ingredients. There, of course, there's others that you can riff on, but a little something to help get you guys started if you haven't already started thinking about some ideas of how economies and in a mini game format could work, and how to kind of push forward on something that would resonate and is interesting to think about. All right, I think that's enough for the theme details. So let's jump into a few other things. On the Jam page, we've provided a list of works that are relevant to the theme. And in the Discord, we've been discussing these over the last few weeks. So use these resources to think about the theme in relationship to the diaspora or your own personal culture to give you some inspiration. And we'll take some time to review those in some detail very shortly. But before we do that, I also wanted to mention some other stuff. So in our community, we provided a list of resources to help teams. And for our new teams that are forming today and for new jammers, um, let's get into a few things that will help you all get started first. If you haven't already made a team, use the time after the kickoff to chat with other jammers and exchange your interests. Once you form a team, tag our organizer role and let us know what your team name is, and we'll set you up on the forum to use for your team communications and organization during the jam itself. And if you're working solo, we can still set you up with a forum channel if you like. So just let us know. And as any of our jam participants may know, staying organized and communication for a longer jam, but also a online jam like ours primarily, is super key. And to help stay organized, we've set up a production template via Trello for teams to use as a reference point to set up their production setups. Usually one team member helps with production for the team and ensures that tasks are being completed and aren't falling through the cracks. So for those interested in digging into the production setup in detail, we'll have time today after the kickoff during a co-work session to kind of show some example of how that works. And let's also talk about a few other extra recommended tips for the teams and producers alike. Some things that we've noticed over the past jams that should be helpful. First, try your best to decide on an idea to focus on within the first few days of the jam. Second, designate a team member or members to function as a production team, a producer. Part of their job should be to schedule team meetings at least twice a week, preferably, organize tasks for the project, and to facilitate conversation with the team. Share your in progress work with your team often through the Discord or through wherever you guys are communicating. That's super important for visibility and just general communication. And also check in with your team when you can, frequently throughout the week. One of the biggest things we've always come up against, as mentioned before, is like communication and visibility from this virtual space, since we're not working in the same physical space together. So this would be great. Over the next few weeks, you'll want to talk with your team, schedule these group meetings as needed, and we'll also be hosting some co-working sessions every weekend, twice a weekend, but feel free to schedule your own team sessions based upon your team's schedule. Let that kind of be organic and figure that out that way. So once we wrap up the kickoff, spend time today talking with people in the Discord, form teams, brainstorm over the ideas about the theme, and kind of set some foundation to build off on as we enter in our first week going forward with the schedule. Okay, So with all those out the way, let's take a second to view some of the works real quick. And we're not going to go over all of them, obviously, and there's definitely more of these in the actual Discord itself. So this is just kind of to hint at a few things. And I'll also take a moment to probably pull up a few others that aren't on the page at the moment as well to provide a little extra context. So give me one quick sec to pull that up. And because yeah, I'm realizing that we are missing a few things on there, so that I wanted to talk about today. Okay. Okay, so yeah, we provided a few recipes. We'll update this list in a moment after we get off the kickoff to make sure you guys can see these as well, that for folks that haven't seen it in the Discord yet. But we provided a few recipes initially about pound cake. So if you haven't made pound cake, you haven't seen much about pound cake before, this is a really good starting point to kind of dig your teeth into it, so to speak. So there's a few of those. We also had a session to make pound cake the other week where we did it for the first time for a lot of us, our first time making pound cake, and that was a lot of fun. First time for me too, actually making it. So we have a list of works related to mini games that we've outlined. Some of these are ranging from WarriorWare, of course, as mentioned before, Okami, Final Fantasy, Mario Party, of course, Fall Guys, even Street Fighter. If y'all remember, there were fight the car, break the car, whole mini game at the end of some of the fights. That's a mini game, right? So, and these all these kinds of things are smaller games that fit within a larger context, right? And that's kind of one of the things about mini games is that they typically are part of a smaller game. Typically are part of a larger game, right? A smaller game inside of a larger game. We identified a few key details about what makes a mini game, right? And I'll try to hint at that a little bit before we wrap up today too. So we also provided a list of readings for future economics that are in the Discord, and we'll update with that as well. But there's a bunch of different details around actual economic research that's been done throughout the years, organizations that are in the present moment doing different things on a local level that have had success of just doing things differently from we usually see in the world. And I think that's a really great point to kind of dig into and think about in context of creating something new in a creative space like this, right? And then, of course, we have stuff from fictional stories like fantasy, other worlds that authors have built that hint at their own ways of doing things that are forward thinking in a different, year, a different universe even. So there's a lot of cool stuff that we kind of have surfaced and have talked about a little bit in the Discord. So we really encourage you all to kind of dig into that a little bit if you haven't already. We've also provided a few videos to outline some of the current economic systems or historical economic systems that have existed across the world in our, actual present time. So some interesting things to kind of dig into and to look at. And lastly, we also outline a few relevant games and other works related to future economics that aren't just videos and aren't just stories, but actual things that you can play through that maybe you haven't played before. And so of course, this list that we have is not all encompassing, but if there's others that pop up for you that you think about, that is also always a great thing to bring up into the chat with everybody. So a few of those have been Frostpunk, which is like a society survival game set in towards the near future. Democratic Socialism Simulator, Hard Space Shipbreaker, which is kind of like blue collar spaceship salvage type game in the future. Hypnospace Outlaw, Citizen Sleeper, which came out last year, I believe. Even we had something that was like Wilmot's Warehouse, which is about economics of space and not just the transfer of currency. So a different spin on things, right? And those are some of the ones that we kind of talked about as well in the Discord, and we'll provide some of that shortly as well. So I'm gonna take a moment to double check on the mini game bit to make sure I have enough information on that um, to share. Quick moment to double check on that one. I did want to hint at that before we wrapped up today. Pull up that document. So in particular, when we talk about mini game, we ask the question, what is a mini game and what is the context of a mini game? And we had a session to talk about this as a group a couple weeks ago. And the big thing that came up was a definition that we've kind of put together. A mini game is a small game that fits in the context of a larger game, or a game that is very simple in its gameplay with a short game loop. I'm talking about a game loop of that can be completed within the 1 to 3 minutes generally. You can make it longer, of course, but the actual full game loop itself, is very quick. Some words that we kind of called out to this were that it was punchy and that there's a larger objective outside of the mini game. And also talking about stuff like Mario Party and WarriorWare, the instructions of the game fit very, fit within like 1 or 2 screens. Just something you can read really quickly, get an idea about it, and then start to play the game. So these are very like types of things that can be multiplayer very easily or single player, and very low weight. Also, last bit was that oftentimes these mini games are different mechanics from the usual game itself. So you take a larger game like Okami, Red Dead, Yakuza, all these smaller games are, much different types of gameplay, right? And this is pretty interesting because as a developer and designers, if you're working on a larger game, these mini games kind of give different developers a chance to show their own personality almost and experiment with different types of things that are not usual for that particular game. And that's kind of exciting to do if you're working on a larger project. So also something to think about. If you have a larger project and you already have an IP that you've created, then think about like, what if I made a mini game that fits inside this IP, right? And you can kind of riff on that to see like what would be an interesting mini game for this type of story that I'm working on. So there's some cool stuff there too. And I would say that's the last bit that would be worth mentioning about our themes and our resources that we've put together. So we can move on from that. Bear, let's look at the schedule right quick.
Yeah, can do, can do.
Okay, so here's our schedule for the next couple weeks. As you can see, there are co-work sessions scheduled on the Fridays and Sundays. Right after we finish up here, we have a co-work session, and then we have one next Friday, for example. We have some skill experts or mentors, as we call them, that are going to be around during the jam in the Discord. And we've asked some of them to be present during some of the co-work sessions if you all would benefit from that. So this is a good opportunity for everyone in the jam to kind of have like a group work session, so to speak, to split up into their different groups if they have time to riff off on the ideas to each other, to even share if they would like to, or play test even. Play testing, especially on the last weekend or last week of the jam, is particularly pretty key to find out what's fun and find out if there's any adjustments to make or anything that's breaking, right? So the co-work session is also a good time to just have people to play test with really organically and test that out. So we'll be doing that. The jam wraps up on June 4th. We have a submission deadline of 3 p.m. Eastern time. And that is flexible. Just in case your team is running up into some issues, the deadline is flexible. It's not a huge deal for us. So if it ends up getting in late, you're having issues with your build or with the upload or your itch page not ready, just continue to get things ready for submission, and the organizers will help to make sure that your stuff is submitted properly, right? Also to note, the itch page, you can make the itch page, you can upload, and you can add more uploads to the itch page. So just get the things ready, get your first thing up on there, and make updates to it afterwards, right? If you need to, that's okay. After the submission deadline is over, then we have a break, and then once we get to about 5 p.m., about 2 hours after, we're planning to do a not a co-working session, but a showcase session for the games that have been uploaded, and to give everyone some time to potentially talk about their games with the rest of the jammers. So this would be a good open forum kind of setup for us to talk about the experience, talk about our games, and share things about them. We'll try to do some live play if we can, but also, if we can't do that super well, then we'll figure out some other way to kind of allow people to show their stuff. If you have any video that you've made or anything like that, that's also super useful to take video. So, we'll make that work. But should be fun. So really looking forward to what people come up with over the next couple weeks in particular. Um, yeah, and any other thoughts you like to share, Bear?
No, I'm just like I'm obviously like I think future economies is a very interesting subject, very important, very relevant, right? So I'm excited to see what people come up with. And
Hmm.
pound cake is just always good. Just you never really can go wrong with pound cake. So yeah, just looking
True.
forward to seeing the works.
Yeah, same. Yeah, I'll be participating this time a little bit. I don't always participate when depending on how busy things are for work and stuff. But I'll be hoping to dive into a few ideas as well as a designer and put some things together for some teams. Um, and
Maybe
see
help
what
produce a little bit. Yeah,
we'll see. Yeah, we'll
yeah,
see a little bit. Yep, yep. But it's a really intriguing theme and something that I hadn't thought about a lot, but has come up in different conversations I've been a part of. This
yeah.
kind of economics as a whole, of course, with the U.S. and things like that. Like things are crazy right now. Just go to the store and you'll see how, wild things are with inflation and stuff. So it's an interesting time to think about, you know, what's next, what things can look like next, and use this kind of creative space of interactivity as a way to explore that kind of thing, looking back at history and looking back at the future together, and seeing if anything interesting kind of comes up from the creative well that we all have. So it should be fun. I think it should be fun. Fun challenge, especially for making mini games out of this kind of thing. So I
Yeah.
will note, the themes that we've chosen, these kind of happen organically because we chose mini games as an area that we wanted to explore, but the theme itself was voted on as from a group. So it wasn't purposely that we would do mini games and economics together. It wasn't like a typical thinking, right? But it just kind of happened that way. And so, now we have a very interesting creative constraint. So yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, very
Just
excited, very
yeah,
excited.
very curious to see what people come up with. Yeah.
Definitely, yeah, definitely. Um, but I think that's it for today. For anyone that's not participating and is watching this, always feel free to check out us on itch.io for our previous jams that we have up on there. That's a lot of good stuff that we've
Check out our
created.
Discord.
Yeah, come through the Discord and if you like to play test, you're welcome to do that. We'll likely be hosting some playtesting sessions, so that's great stuff. If you're in the LA area and if you haven't already been made aware of this, we're having an in-person co-work space next weekend on the 27th or the 28th. It's likely going to be the 28th, but we're having signups for people that want to join that in person in Culver City. If you haven't signed up yet, please sign up because we are planning to have some food and snacks available for jammers during that time. From that period, we'll likely be doing kind of a morning till late afternoon co-work session there for everyone that shows up. So it should be a good time. It's our first time doing something in person since we started the game jams in particular. So we're really looking forward to just kind of have the opportunity to work together in person. And hopefully we'll be able to continue doing more of those kinds of things with our different groups all across the US and where people are located in our membership during these jams too. So, we'll see how things go, but this is a good step in the right direction for us. So looking forward to things. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, otherwise, let's get cooking.
yeah. See everyone at the co-working session at 4. Good
Yes.
luck. Godspeed. Yeah.
Yes. Good luck. Good luck. Definitely. All right. Peace out.